The woke left has officially reached new lows of desperation. The hysterics have largely dissipated in Minneapolis, all as the Trump administration has set new records in mass deportation numbers, over 3.5 million and counting. The left is tired. They're increasingly feeling defeated, demoralized. They can't win elections. They can't win arguments. And they can't stop the single most popular president in a generation from enforcing the law. So what have they been reduced to? They're now recruiting kids. They're pumping them up full of rage in the classroom, marching them out in the streets, and telling them to go confront law enforcement. And what happens next proves that the era of pampered, pathetic liberals has indeed come to a decisive end. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, back in the studio after a wonderful week in the sun. You were with me, of course. We did a number of videos from the beautiful Florida Keys, but it's great to be back with you here in our study where I help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do if you haven't already done so. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Enumclaw, Washington. It's a quiet little town at the foot of the Cascades, about an hour away from Seattle. But just days back, it became the center of a new round of anti-ICE activism. On February 13th, roughly 100 to 150 students walked out of Enumclaw High School in the middle of the day for an anti-ICE protest. Well, they marched over a mile through the streets. They chanted, "No justice, no peace," screaming obscenities about immigration and customs enforcement. They carried signs. They blocked streets. And when independent journalist Vivian Ivey and her colleague Danny Rebel showed up to document what was happening in our nation's schools, well, right away we could see that these students were out of control.
Immigrants built this country!
I need to know what energy drink she's drinking. I need one.
But then that same megaphone nut took things to a whole new level.
Yeah, for them, especially just standing there.
So as you just saw there, Megaphone Mary, as we'll call her, she's now been identified as a 17-year-old student there at the school. She decided it'd be a good idea to punch Ivy's colleague, Danny, square in the face, knock off his glasses, send his phone flying. And she thought that would be a really, really great idea to do it in front of a camera. Most likely because she's never been held accountable for her actions in her life. Now, I gotta say, I don't necessarily blame this girl, as we'll find out. She's just a pawn. She's just a useful idiot. She's a skull full of mush, as our dear Rush Limbaugh would say. By the way, 5 years ago today, he left us. I can't believe it's been 5 years already. No one will ever replace him. But unfortunately for Megaphone Mary and some of her friends, moral ineptitude on their part doesn't shield them from the law. That's right. That's the new slogan for the cultural Marxist revolutionaries. I want my mommy. I mean, that was the very definition of F around and find out. And this is a perfect symbol of the progressive left and what they've been reduced to. They gather together as hysterical mobs, screaming profanities and obscenities at men and women whose only crime is that they are faithfully enforcing the law. And when they do, when they put these hysterical lunatics in handcuffs, they immediately melt. They melt down into full-blown temper tantrums, screaming for their mommies, even though moments earlier they were all cosplaying as revolutionaries. But what we're about to find out is that Enumclaw isn't an isolated incident. This is happening everywhere, and it's not spontaneous. It's being deliberately orchestrated from above. But first, gang, the big medical hack of 2025 was several peer-reviewed studies identifying the direct connections between anti-parasitic medications having off-label benefits fighting a wide variety of cancers. And this makes sense. The connection between tumor growth and parasites has been known for years. Now, while the CDC remains silent, they've admitted that millions of Americans suffer from parasitic infections that often go undetected or undiagnosed. This is why Dr. Peter McCullough, Chief Scientific Officer at the Wellness Company and the world's most published cardiologist, says these studies make a clear case to do at least one medical-grade parasite cleanse every year. Well, the Wellness Company's proprietary USA compounded ivermectin and mebendazole is a doctor-prescribed gold standard combination dose designed to help the body eliminate parasites plus other incredible benefits. Each bottle contains 90 capsules, enough to complete 4 21-day cleanses. This high-strength formula cannot be found at your local pharmacy, but the Wellness Company removes all the red tape by making the process fully digital. Fill out a quick intake form, a doctor reviews it, and your medical-grade parasite cleanse arrives in a week. It's time for New Year, New You reset and own your health. Head to twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to save $90 off plus free shipping. USA residents only. The National Education Association, the largest teachers union in America, has been blasting out anti-ICE propaganda to teachers across the country, urging them to rally against immigration enforcement and turn their classrooms into political battlegrounds. I kid you not. In fact, the NEA reportedly pushed teachers to attend anti-ICE training sessions over the last month. The Iowa State Education Association, and keep in mind, Iowa is a thoroughly red state, but their education association posted on its official social media calling on teachers to wear blue to school to protest ICE and stand with Minnesota and teach their students to do the same. The Washington Education Association did just that. These aren't grassroots student movements. What you just saw there wasn't a student-initiated protest. No wonder why she was screaming for her mommy. These are activist events orchestrated by adult revolutionaries embedded in teachers' unions. And here's what makes this truly insidious. Over 98% of the NEA's campaigns, their campaign contributions, go to Democrats. 98%. Again, these are our public schools. I mean, this is the very definition of the kind of taxpayer money laundering that we first saw exposed with Doge and their shutting down USAID, which turned out to be nothing more than a front for funding left-wing causes all around the world to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. At their annual convention last year, the NEA passed resolutions pledging to combat Trump's, and I'm quoting them, Trump's fascism. Actually, I'm not quoting them. They were mercilessly mocked because they actually misspelled the word fascism. F-A-C-I-S-M, or is that fascism? I don't know. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the state of American education, all right? These guys are all the proud products of the Laring Center, I guess. It's beyond pathetic, but the results are exactly what you would expect when our education associations are taken over by radical cultural Marxists. In Issaquah, Washington, teachers helped students launch an anti-ICE protest that turned violent. Students actually ended up beating up a mother And the school principal acknowledged the violence but refused to condemn it. In Dallas, students walked out and blocked traffic. In LA, protesters threw rocks at federal agents, sending 3 to the hospital, 1 with a concussion. And in that same city, a teacher named Ricardo Lopez was fired on the spot after he opened a locked gate so students could leave campus to join an anti-ICE walkout. The United Teachers Los Angeles Union has been caught planning ICE resistance activities and offering teachers service learning hours for engaging students in what they called community self-defense. But that's nothing compared to Minneapolis public schools, who've had students learning remotely for weeks, not because of a snowstorm and certainly not because of some supposed pandemic, but because of ongoing ICE activities. Again, I kid you not. They literally shut down the physical location of schools for anti-ICE performative politics. The principal goal of these radical woke lunatics embedded in teachers' unions is not academics. It's activism. That's what you've got to get. It's activism, not academics. They see the classroom not as a place for academics. Instead, they see the classroom as a social engineering center dedicated to cultivating radical Marxist activists. Now, the good news is that parents are waking up big time to this. 27 governors, even including Democrat Jared Polis of Colorado, they've now opted into President Trump's federal tax credit scholarship program. That is the most significant school choice expansion in American history. It's more than half the states in the union. You've got states like Texas and Florida threatening real consequences in all this: suspension, expulsion, even state takeovers for districts that turn classrooms into activist training camps. And the Teacher Freedom Alliance is offering free liability insurance to educators who want to leave their union but without losing their protection. Because the anti-ICE walkouts have exposed the truth that millions of parents have long suspected. For the teachers' unions, this was never about the kids. It was always about control. It was always about using your children, exploiting your taxpayer-funded classrooms as an indoctrination pipeline for a radical political agenda. It's time to take the classrooms back and send these radical leftists packing once and for all. Hey there, Turley Talks family. Dr. Steve here. I'm coming to Dover, Delaware on Saturday, February 21st for the 2026 Lincoln Day dinner, and I want to see you there. Bring your books, bring your family, bring your friends. We'll have cocktails at 6 p.m. My keynote is at 7 p.m. And I have a dedicated spot for book signing. Tickets are $100, but they're pre-sale only. No tickets at the door. Scan the QR code to register. Let's celebrate this movement together.